This after a disappointing Friday, November 22 by-election results, where they lost the two contested elections at the local level, Inantown and Morant Bay. And they were despondent. But they rallied and put on a show yesterday that was impressive in several respects. Several respects. And you know, I've been looking at politics for a long time in this country. And yesterday, as I watched the proceedings and listened to the message from the platform and surveyed the political landscape, if there's one thing we should be satisfied about, is that the two-party competitive democracy that we have had is alive and well. The two-party competitive democracy that is Jamaica is alive and well. And many of you may not appreciate that because you may not know of any other thing. But there's millions of people, several countries, where those people do not have that choice, do not have that power to not only freely gather and assemble and express themselves, make political points. We take that for granted. We take it for granted. We should not. Because there are millions of people across the world who simply are denied that by dictators and autocrats. And yesterday afternoon, I said, look at this display of political resilience by a governing party that has been on the back foot, been on the defensive, based on all that has happened for the last 12 to 18 months. And the Labour Party base turned out yesterday. In addition to turning out, the conference was able to sketch, to draw the outlines of what is now the unofficial start of the general election campaign for 2025. Yesterday was the unofficial start, and we now see the outlines of how that campaign will be fought. The message from the platform of the Labour Party yesterday was very clear. Very clear. We have a record to run on. We have a record of achievements and performance after 9 years, and we're going to run on that. So it is going to be the JLP's record in government over the last 8-9 years versus what the PNP will be pushing. So far, what we have heard from the PNP is discontent. You're disappointed, you're unhappy, you're dissatisfied with this lot, vote them out. And of course, corruption. But they have not put forward yet a platform of ideas, policies, initiatives to say to the Jamaican people, yes, we know you're discontented with Holness and his lot, but here's why you have to vote for us. Here's why we're asking you to vote for us, not necessarily vote against them. And I've been saying this for some time. But what Holness did last week, beginning last Tuesday at Jamaica House, with that Pivot to Growth 90-minute long presentation. It's like opening a store or setting up stall on Beckford Street at Curry, and you put out on your stall where you're selling. If it's shoes or grown provisions, and you say I have a discount on a pair of shoes for 20%, yeah? Come to my store. We don't hear Mark's store yet. Mark no or him no put out him stall yet. But we see wholeness a pile up where man for sell. You get discounted GCT and electricity. We're gonna waive your debt where you owe to NWC. Yeah? We'll give rural children a cashless card so they can be subsidized to get to and from school. Mark and Julian and Dayton will now have to open the PNP store. What is it we're going to put in on the table? If there's one implication of what we heard last week and culminating yesterday, what impressed me most of all, though, conferences in Jamaica are no longer conferences of the 80s, 90s, and even at the turn of the 21st century, where party delegates would come together and on the Friday or the Saturday before the public session, you would sit down in the arena and you would discuss the pros and cons of what you're proposing to do or what you have done in government. And I remember going to several of those of the People's National Party at the time when I was an activist for it. And I can recall some famous battles inside the arena. I remember one where Roger Clark took on Michael Manley, or Paul Burke, who was always taking on the leadership, pushing it to do more, to go further to the left. And you had ordinary delegates up and down the country. That doesn't happen anymore. And I think the country is worse off as a result of that. What we now have is a razzmatazz of the modern world, where you look for the optics, yes? Or it look, or it feel, who generated more excitement and energy. Frankly, we have diminished the value of conferences, party conferences. We have devalued the conferences. So in that context, you now assess the JLP and the PNP conferences. Yesterday, the labor rights were disciplined. One message came from virtually all the speakers on the platform. Performance, achievements, this is what we're going to be doing. And that was noteworthy because I didn't hear the attacks that we would normally hear on the other side. If the PNP were mentioned 5 times, it was a lot. I didn't hear the attacks on the other party leaders. Party leader, that was absent. It was all laser focused on the message. And that is why I say, what we heard was the sketches of the outline of the campaign that is coming. Policy for policy, idea for idea, what is workable versus what is not workable. And if they are able to maintain that, yes, if the JLP is able to sustain that, and to cut the red tape of bureaucracy and begin to implement those initiatives that it is currently pursuing and that the Prime Minister announced yesterday, then it is going to be difficult to stop them. I have been saying this, and I said it Friday evening after the local election, after the by-election results. The Holness administration is the only administration in my living memory, and I can go back to 1976 when I started to really follow Jamaican public affairs. 1976 is how many years ago? 48 years ago. Yes? And I recall the 76 election campaign, when the PNP's campaign was all about the social reforms that the Manley administration had enacted between 72 when it won, February 72, and the December 76 elections. Yes? The free education, no bastard, no day again. That was the basis of the PNP campaign. It wasn't about economics. They were terrible at the economic management of the country. And since then, we have not had a government that can speak to the record that Holness can about what they've done since 2016. And that's what they're going to be relying upon, and hopefully, for them, the Jamaican people will see through it. And it is also going to flush out Mark Golding and Dayton and Bunting. What do you have selling? We want to see a stall. Yeah, where you have spread out of your store, the front of your store. You can't just continue to talk about discontent and corruption. Yeah, we know that. Yeah, we're not satisfied with this lot. But what are you putting forward? So as we come to the end of the political year, because the JLP conference marks the end of the political year, the PNP were in conference September. There's a lot more work to be done, but the Labourites have a lot to take away. We're going to have more after the break. Able to achieve something far more significant. They were able to make the case for a third term in very clear ways. And I want to start by giving credit to the conference organizers, whoever they are. Clearly, somebody or some person sat down and virtually wrote a script. So it was coordinated. They wrote a script. And then the theme, you notice that section where they dealt with just women, lauded women, focused on the role of women in the politics and how they have promoted women. I am surmising that based on our Blue Dot polls, we saw where women are more favorably disposed to the Labour Party than to the People's National Party. And I don't know if that was part of the calculation. I don't know. But also, the presentations, especially those of the Prime Minister and the party chairman, Mr. Montague. Bobby Montague gave a hell of a performance and speech yesterday. I think he, more than anyone else, captured in simple, effective Jamaican language what the ground is saying, has been saying for some time. That the Labour Party needed to take care of the poor and the vulnerable. Yeah? If you go to number 5 for me. Right. Montague not only reflected on Friday's defeat of the party's candidates in Town and Morant Bay, but he said, listener, we must learn from the setback, he said. We must learn from it, he said. Listen.
And we say to the people in the 2 municipal divisions, don't be daunted or discouraged. It's not the results we wanted, but it is the results we got. But there are 3 basic lessons that came from those elections. Lesson number 1, we must pay more attention to the poor and vulnerable, to the people's agenda, to cost of living, to roads, to light, water, and housing. Lesson number 2, we must help more people to start small businesses or expand, and we must grow our footprint in the digital economy. And lesson number 3, we must take more care of our party workers.
Very clear, very simple, no ambiguity. Bobby Montague went on to say that the next chapter of the party's plan for the country must focus entirely on providing tangible help to the people of Jamaica.
People want opportunity, not backwardness. Your party, the Jamaica Labour Party, has heard your cry for help. Help with the daily living. Help with the children. Help on the farm. Help to repair your house. The party leader has heard you too. And that is why recently he said it is time to pivot. We in the Labour Party know that it is time to change course for the next chapter. It is the people's agenda and the people's priority is what the next chapter is about.
According to the Member of Parliament for West St. Mary, the JLP has heard the cry of the workers, and more will be done to help them.
We are paying more attention now to our party workers, creating more opportunities for them. Our party leader started the scholarship program where the children of party workers can get a scholarship or a grant to continue their education. But we intend to go further. Our party workers are the foundation of democracy. The soldiers against poverty and the salt of the earth. We thank them and we salute them. People want opportunity, not backwardness. Your party, the Jamaica Labour Party, has heard your cry for help. Help with the daily living. Help with the children. Help on the farm. Help to repair your house. The party leader has heard you too, and that is why recently he said it is time to pivot. We in the Labour Party know that it is time to change course for the next chapter. The party leader has heard you loud and clear, and he will start the change. He has promised to pivot. He has already warned MPs and ministers. He has warned about the arrogance, the stiff-neckedness, the haughtiness. It is the people's agenda and the people's priority is what the next chapter is about. Labor rights, my fellow Jamaicans, I believe the leader. I trust the leader. And I am confident that the leader will pivot. And I want you to believe too.
And on cue, the Prime Minister turned up and he delivered a raft of plans aimed at doing just what Bobby Montague said. Yes? Here's Ruby and Williams' report on his presentation.
Among the plans is a reduction in the General Consumption Tax, GCT, on electricity, which Prime Minister Holder says will be slashed from 15% to 7%. He says this change is slated for implementation after the next budget cycle in March 2025. Holness emphasized that this move is part of a broader strategy to alleviate energy poverty and make electricity more affordable.
Everybody complain about their electricity bill. Listen to this one carefully. After the next budget, which is in March coming up, the government will reduce GCT on electricity from 15%, which it is now, to 7%. We will remove the non-tax threshold and replace this with an incentivized compatible rebate of GCT for persons who use 200 megawatts or less per month. Now, the JPS will be required to roll out prepaid meters nationally, particularly in vulnerable communities.
In addition to the tax reduction, Holness announced the introduction of time-of-day pricing for electricity.
This means customers can benefit from better rates by arranging how they consume electricity in off-peak hours. So, the peak hours is usually in the evening when everybody come home from work. Electricity high, cost high. But now the JPS can say, all right, if you use most of your electricity in off-peak hours, you pay a lower rate. So you have the option now of economizing how you use electricity. But it is also better for the grid because right now in peak time, everybody is using the grid. Put stress on the grid. But if you can evenly distribute the use of the grid, it is more economical for everyone.
Addressing the long-standing water access issues, the Prime Minister also revealed plans for a water debt amnesty. Jamaicans disconnected from the National Water Commission (NWC) for over 2 years due to outstanding debts will have the opportunity to clear their arrears.
For persons who have been disconnected from the NWC water supply for debts 2 years or more outstanding, who are pensioners or who are assessed as being in need based on the part beneficiary identification standards, the NWC will write off totally the debt that is owed. In addition to that, we will waive the reconnection fee.
Prime Minister Holness says the water debt amnesty will start on January 2, 2025 and last for 3 months. Additionally, customers who have been disconnected for over 6 months will be eligible for a discount on their outstanding balances if they commit to structured repayment plans.
If you were disconnected for longer than 6 months, we ask you to come in to the NWC and make arrangements for payments. The NWC will discount your debt by 50%. Our special cases, as assessed, the discount might be even higher. For persons who are pensioners who have taken part in this amnesty and who are being reconnected, if the reconnection is as a result of a suspected leak, the NWC will provide a leak detection service to ensure that the pensioner does not end up back in the same situation as before. The NWC will partner with the Heart Trust NSTA to train leak detection specialists to participate in this program.
For now, all eyes remain on the government's ability to deliver on its plans as Jamaicans prepare for the general elections in 2025. Robianne Williams for Nationwide News.
Thank you, Roby. The Prime Minister also delivered more, or announced, not delivered, announced more initiatives. He said they plan to deploy 100 new buses powered by compressed natural gas for use in urban centers in rural parishes.
There is an inequity in the distribution of transportation subsidy. Minister Vaz has been directed to deploy 100 new buses that he got earlier this year to urban centers in rural areas. I'm happy to see that a bus route has been established from Kingston to Morant Bay, and that is just the first in many to come. The Montego Bay Urban Transit Company was refleeted with 12 buses, which currently benefit 6,000 students from St. James, Hanover and Trelawney. By June, July next year, 100 new buses will be added to the fleet again.
He also said that they will be introducing a cashless payment system that will serve both the state-owned Jamaica Urban Transit Company and operators of public passenger vehicles.
Minister Vaz has been directed and has started to develop a cashless payment system with private PPV operators so that they can carry children. The children will have a card. On that card will be the subsidy from the government that they can pay directly to private transport operators. This will further extend the subsidy to rural communities and rural students so that there is equity in the society as it relates to public transportation, and that will significantly impact the cost of living that you face.
And he had more. Starting February 2025, Jamaicans 18 years and older who are not registered for the reverse income tax credit will be assessed by the Labour and Social Security Minister. Those deemed in need will receive that one-time grant of $20,000.
There are a set of persons, however, that we have not fully captured in our Care Give Back program. These persons are not registered on PATH. When you walk in the campaign, we meet some of them. They are not part of our social pension system. They are not part of our NIS system. So they are just there. They're not registered. They're not known. And so they can't take part in the care program that the government is doing. Now, I wish to announce that starting in February, we will open applications for persons 18 years or older who are not registered on PATH, not part of the social pension, not captured anywhere or getting any benefit. They will be subject to a needs assessment by the Ministry of Labour and Social Security, and they will get their $20,000 check like everybody else.
JLP leader and Prime Minister Andrew Holness. After the break, you'll hear from Kerencia Morrison. She was one of the star performers yesterday, as well as the Mining and Agriculture Minister Floyd Green after the break.
Boasts one of the greatest access for our young people through skills training, employment, and opportunities. This government, led by our party leader, Dr. the Most Honorable Andrew Michael Holness, made one of the greatest investments in youth development, labor rights. When we talk about the HEART program, we are talking about empowering young people. We are talking about enabling young people to live their best lives, to reach and achieve labor rights. For those who don't know or claim not to know, or those who may want to distort the truth, it is this government that is making skills training affordable and accessible for all Jamaicans. When we removed the enrollment fees at HEART, thereby providing skills training free of cost. And we can include the additional meal and subsidy. And they want to deceive us by leading us to believe, telling our young people that not Nagwan. In addition to HEART training, this government has instituted the LIFT program, where hundreds of students benefit from $85,000 per month in subsidy. This government instituted the Sixth Form Pathway program, which enables students to complete a robust secondary school experience. This JLP-led administration achieved another milestone when we removed the cumbersome requirement of a guarantor for student loan so that poor people picnic can access higher education.
Kerencia Morrison, the Member of Parliament for North East St. Catherine. And her job yesterday, clearly looking on, was to make the case to the young Jamaican voter. And I think she did it, and did it very well. There's something else about this woman, Kerencia Morrison. She is able to deliver a message without shouting and speaking and articulating in a way that would make any parent happy to watch her with a young child who you are trying, yes, to teach and to encourage the need to articulate, to master the English language. We already master the dialect, the patois. We don't need no help with that. But Kerencia Morrison is possibly one of the best in terms of public speaking, in terms of her diction and command of the language, how she uses her voice. Yeah? Clearly one for the future. The other one yesterday that had a job to do, and he did it, the Minister of Agriculture, Mining and Fisheries, Floyd Green. He said the party in government has done much to improve the country's infrastructure since taking charge in February 2016.
Let me tell you about infrastructure. I'll tell you that secret. My people, them, we normally get ready early, 6 o'clock. We do pick up 6:30. We head out of country. And normally when we reach arena for conference, we can't get in because it used to take we all 3 hours. This morning, we get up 6. We get on the bus 6:30. Some of my people, we just come, we skate on the toll, and we in here right now because infrastructure is better under Labour.
Floyd Green, the Minister of Agriculture, he said the PNP lacks the credibility to criticize the JLP about the state of farm roads across the island.
I hear them call them conference. I hear them talk about what they're going to do for farm roads. But I found it a little strange. Because if you're going to say what you're going to do, I think you would start by telling us what have you done when you had the chance. I checked what they did when they had the chance. In 2013, they did less than 10 farm roads. In 2014, they did less than 10 farm roads. In 2015, they did less than 10 farm roads. In the 4 years, they did less than 50 farm roads. Let me tell you a secret. Your government, in 2022, we did 71 farm roads. In 2023, we did over 70 farm roads. This year, over 70 farm roads.
Floyd Green, the Minister of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining, the Member of Parliament for Southwest St. Elizabeth, speaking to the farmers. And that's crucially important. Farmers make up a significant portion of the voting population. And where Mr. Green is concerned, they form the bedrock of his constituency of Southwest St. Elizabeth. And this is where I thought whoever were the conference organizers, there was some thinking, some serious thought went into the platform presentations. First of all, there wasn't the distraction of entertainers like we saw at the PNP conference. Yeah, we didn't see that. Yeah, it was all about the messaging, the content, the substance of why people should stick with the government. Yeah? The PNP could learn a thing or two from that. Yeah? But back to Floyd Green. Floyd Green is the MP for Southwest St. Elizabeth. And that is a constituency we will be watching very closely on election day. Because the people of Southwest St. Elizabeth usually vote for the party about to form the government of Jamaica. For the last 8, 10, 12 general elections, they have consistently voted for the winning party. And they have this uncanny ability to cut through the gimmickry and the fluff. Yeah, the people of Southwest St. Elizabeth. They're very intelligent people. They're very well informed. Yes, they have their values together. Yeah, and on election night, wherever they go, more than likely, Jamaica is going. Yeah? Now, Friday, the by-elections. There's one thing I was on with Ricardo and Sanjay on Friday evening. And they brought me on shortly as soon as the results came in. I've had some time to look at the numbers again. And there's a story I think we have missed. What is that story? Northwest St. Andrew, where the councillor for the Chancery Hall Division for several years, Dwayne Smith, the son of Derek Smith, who was a member of Parliament up in Northwest St. Andrew since 1989 until 2018. Very well respected and dominant figure, Derek Smith. And when he left in 2018, they handed the seat to the now departed Dr. Nigel Clark.